पुराणोपनिषदामृतद्रवितान् पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतमृतवर्षिणी भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनी अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। नमो अस्तु ते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे फुल अरविंद आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारत तैल पूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीपः प्रपन्न पारिजाताय तोत्र वेत्र एकपानये ज्ञान मुद्राय कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत। वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगत गुरु। भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्ये ग्रावती कृपेन वहने कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तने सोतीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन्नदी कैवर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलं गीता अर्थगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपदे रह ते पिए मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम्। यं ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्ये स्तवे वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रम उपनिषदैः गायन्ति यम सामगा ज्ञानवस्ति तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुषुर असुरगणः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So we ended our last week's class with verse number 40, where Lord Krishna is saying, there is no being on earth or again in the heavens among the heavenly beings who is totally liberated from the three qualities born of Prakriti. So we've been learning about these qualities, Satvikta, Rajsikta, Tamsikta. So that is in the Prakriti, not the Atma, not in the soul. Soul is beyond that. We have seen the type of action a person performs can be Satvik, Rajsik, Tamsik. Quality of the ego can be different too. The color of our knowledge also, the texture of our understanding, the temper of our fortitude, and even, he said, brilliancy of our happiness. And all of this together will determine our Varna. Varna. That's why this Varna, sure, people say it's a caste. Some people say it's a class. But the Sanskrit translation of Varna means the color. The color of our personality. Soul doesn't have any color. It's colorless. It's part of God. But the personality does have the color. Sometimes it shines as a white, pure. Sometimes it shines as red, Rajsik. Sometimes it shines as black, dark, Tamsik. So that is called Varna. So according to this Varna, he is going to explain it to us what this division in human beings is. Classification or caste, okay, or division, whatever you want to call it. So let's start with verse number 41. And you are familiar with these terms. Brahman, Kshatriye, Vishama, Shudra, Nam, Cha, Param, Tap, Karmani, Pravibhagatani, Swabhav, Prabhve, Gune. Brahman, Kshatriye, Vaishya, and Shudra. So Shudra Nam means of Shudras. So Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, and of Shudras. Cha means also or and. Paramatap, that is for Arjun. Karmani, the duties, pravibhaktani, are distributed. Swabhav prabhave, born of their own nature, born of their own swabhav, gunai, by qualities. So of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and also the Shudra. And the closest translation for Brahman is the scholars. And he is going to define Brahman and Kshatriya and Shudra and Vaishya for us also according to the qualities. But over here, remember, Brahman means scholars, the teachers. Kshatriya, the leaders. Vaishya, the traders. And Shudra, the workers. O Paramtap, the duties are distributed according to the qualities born of their own nature and gunas. One's nature is called Swabhav. Swabhav and Swadharam. These are the two technical terms we need to understand. Swadharam means one's station in life, stage in life. Okay, Swadharam. And Swabhav is our nature. Our nature means not the nature of the Atma, that is the same for everybody. Nature of our personality. Okay, so after dealing with the various gunas in so many stanzas, so now he's applying that information to the social fabric of humanity. So very intelligently, he is classifying the entire mankind into 4 distinct heads. And there are different kinds of duties assigned to each of these classes. So individual depending upon their own swabhav. That is the key word over here, swabhav. Swabhav prabhave gune. The varns or these divisions, they were not considered higher or lower among themselves. Because the center of the society was God. Everyone worked according to their intrinsic qualities to sustain themselves and the society. And they made their life and success by progressing towards God realization. For a Vaishya also the goal was God or is God. For a teacher also goal is the God. So that's why in this Varna ashram system, you can say there was a unity in diversity. Because diversity is inherent in nature and can never be removed. All the leaves on the tree are not the same. So we have various limbs in our body also. They all perform different functions. If we expect all the limbs to do the same function, this human body cannot sustain itself. So that's how the variety among human beings cannot be ignored. So when the system grew rigid and birth-based, it became dysfunctional. That became a social defect. That's why when we hear the caste system, we don't like that word. But it wasn't meant to be like that. That's a flaw became in the system. Okay, so we got to understand the original intention of the Varna ashram system was a unity among the diversity. So duties prescribed for a Brahman are different for those expected of a Kshatriya. And the work of the Vaishya and Shudra should necessarily be different from that of the Brahman and the Kshatriya, and according to their own swabhav, the nature. And no one is exclusively of one gun alone. That also we should understand. Okay, So now in the next three verses, he is going to give us a definition of when a person is predominantly Brahman. So at time, person is Brahman, but then same person can be a Kshatriya and a Vaishya also at different time of the day, different time of the week, depending upon what that person is doing. So let's look at predominantly Brahman's qualities. And Brahmans are predominantly Sattvic. So Sattvic nature were the Brahmans. So that's why these qualities which we see are the primary duties of a Brahman. They come from the Sattvic purity. Sham, Dama, Tapaha, Shaucham, Kshanti, Arjvam, Evacha, Jnanam, Vijnanam, Astikyam, Brahmakaram, Swabhavajam. Shama. Shama means serenity. Dam means self-restraint. Tap, austerity. Shaucham, purity. Kshanti, forgiveness or patience. Could be either one of those. Arjvam, uprightness. Ev means even, cha means and. Jnanam, knowledge. Vijnanam, wisdom or realization. Vijnan. Astikyam, belief in God. Astikta. Brahmakaram, the duties of Brahman. Swabhavajam, born of nature. So serenity, self-restraint, austerity, purity, forgiveness, and also uprightness. Knowledge, realization, belief in God are the duties of the Brahmins, born of their own nature. So their swabhav is like that. So it's a detailed enumeration of the duties or the gunas of Brahman, born out of his own predominantly sattvic nature. Sham, the very first word, Sham is a peaceful mind, a controlled, well-controlled mind. The mind which doesn't like to run into the worldly objects, seeking sense enjoyments. So consciously working on our mind and instinctively the mind is controlled in a Brahman. Okay, so first, sure, you need to work on your mind. Mind wants to run out, but then with the discipline, you have brought that mind under your control and it's very peaceful. A Brahman's mind is a peaceful mind. Then comes Dham. Dham means controlling the sense organs. Sense organs are the gateways through which the external world of stimuli enters into our mental domain. And that's how the peace of the mind gets disturbed. So Brahman practices Dham also. Even among the sensuous objects, his senses are in his control. Objects can never disturb a person unless we just give up power to the objects. So a Brahman Swabhav has that control. So constantly both Sham and Dham, serenity and self-control, just keeps on going, keeps on working on those. Then comes the austerity, Tap. By the practice of Sham and Dham, the Brahman will be steadily controlling both his senses and mind wandering. And this is what the Tap is. The Brahman's duty is to live in austerity. Conscious physical denial in order to economize the expenditure of energy. Otherwise, whenever we are just letting our senses run wild, we are just wasting our energy. A Brahman will not do that. Okay. He doesn't want to spend the energy into the wrong channels of sense indulgence. He wants to conserve it for reaching to the higher unfoldment within. That is called tapa. So, sham, dam, tapa. Then comes the shauch, purity. And this shauch word is external cleanliness and internal purity, both. The surroundings are clean, the body is clean, the mind is clean, the speech is clean. The whole personality loves cleanliness. So it's the duty of a Brahman to keep himself ever clean and pure. Then comes Kshanti. Shanti means forgiveness, patience, or forbearance. To be patient and forgiving, and to live without struggling even against wrongs done against a person is Kshanti actually. That's a duty of a Brahman. Very forgiving, extremely patient. Somebody else can rebuke, talk bad, do bad. A Brahman will stay calm, will not attack back, will not act impulsively, will not react. Act he may for self-preservation, but not react. That is a Brahman, forbearance. Never ever harbor any hatred for anyone. Because if we hate somebody, we are saying that that person is the other. For a Brahman, there is no other. Everybody is one. Belong to the same unity. That's what Brahman's mind is. He lives in equanimity among both good as well as bad. Then the next quality of a Brahman is arjuvam, uprightness. And this is the quality which makes a person straightforward in all his dealings. And this uprightness or straightforwardness makes him fearless in life. That's why Brahman is never afraid. So he is afraid of none, and he makes no compromise of the higher calls with the lower murmurings. That's a Brahman. So cultivating these 6 qualities, Sham, Dam, Tap, Shauch, Shanti, Arjvam. And there's expression of all these qualities in his relationships in the world outside. It's not that Brahman doesn't live in the world. They are living in the world, but with the help of these qualities. But now he doesn't stop here. Lord Krishna is giving us 3 more duties of a Brahman, which are the rules of the conduct controlling his spiritual life. So cultivating these qualities, and with the help of the qualities, that's how he lives. Next one is, so 3, Gyan, Vigyan and Astikya. Gyan is the knowledge. He will cultivate the theoretical knowledge also. Knowledge of all the Upanishads and the Vedas. That is what Gyan is over here. Because more and more cultivation of the knowledge is needed. Because based upon that knowledge, he is contacting the world outside. Gyan. More and more time is spent on cultivating this knowledge. Okay. Brahman has 24 hours a day and Kshatriya has a 24 hours a day too. And the other 2 also. Everybody has 24 hours a day. It is up to us. How do we spend these 24 hours? So Brahman predominantly spends more and more time in studying the scriptures. That's what Gyan is. Then next is Vigyan. After studying, there has to be a realization also. Personal experience is called Vigyan. Knowledge digested and assimilated will bring inward experience. And that's what a Brahman has. And that's how, with that inward experience, his life is guided by this deep inner experience, which is called wisdom. Because knowledge can be imparted. There's a plenty of knowledge these days. Even in the social media, there's a lot of knowledge. But wisdom is to be found by the individual in himself. And that's what this Vigyan is. In order to have this Vigyan or the personal experience, you need enthusiasm to live the knowledge gained through the studies. And then from the lived experience arises the wisdom. Okay? So this is like just like you cook food, then you eat food, then food get assimilated, then you gain strength. The same way for the studies also. You read something, senses should be controlled, then you control your senses. And then see what happens with the controlled senses. That is a wisdom, the experience. Then comes astikyam, faith. Unless a person has a deep faith in what he is studying and practicing, the person cannot reach to the pinnacle without faith. This conviction is needed. Conviction, which is the motive force behind our life. Secret sustaining power that steadily converts knowledge into wisdom, that is faith. If you don't have a faith in what we are studying, we won't live by that truth. So faith is needed. So the inner order or this intellectual honesty or this topmost enthusiasm, that's called faith. Faith. So to grow and steadily cultivate knowledge, wisdom, and faith, these are the duties of a Brahman. So first he gave us 6 qualities to cultivate. Then he gave us 3 more duties of a Brahman. Okay, so you can see that those who possess predominantly sattvic nature are the Brahmins. This is sattvikta. So primary duties were to undertake austerities, practice purity of mind, devotion, inspire others by their examples. They are expected to be tolerant, humble, and spiritually minded. So basically, that's what he's telling us. They were expected to perform Vedic rituals for themselves and for the other classes also. Brahmins did. And their nature inclined them toward a love for knowledge. Because if you don't have a love for knowledge, you won't spend time. So, the profession of teaching, cultivating this knowledge and sharing it with others, was suitable for these personalities. Brahmins in the past did not participate in the government administration themselves, but they guided the rulers, executives, the kings, because they had the wisdom to give the knowledge to the rulers. So in the social and political matters, they valued it, but they did not participate in it. Okay, so that's why whether we watch Ramayana or whether we look at other episodes on the TV these days, we see the gurus, they stayed away from the kingdoms. They did not hold any positions over there. They just stayed detached from all that. That's a Brahman. So what is a Kshatriya then? What are the qualities or the duties of a Kshatriya? Verse number 43. Shauryam, tejaha, dhriti, dakshyam, yuddhe cha api apalayanam, danam ishwar bhavacha, kshatram karma swabhavajam. Shauryam, prowess, tej, splendor, dhriti, firmness, dakshyam, dexterity, yuddhe, in battle. And battle really means in any action. Cha means and, api means also, apalayanam, not fleeting, not flying, not running away. Danam, generosity. Ishwar bhavaha, lordliness. Kshatram, of kshatriya, karam, action. Subhavjam, born of that nature. So prowess, splendor, firmness, dexterity, and also not fleeting from battle. Generosity, lordliness. These are the duties of the kshatriya, the leaders, born of their own nature. So you can see that Brahman predominantly sattvic and kshatriya have a greater dose of rajasic composition in their personality. Okay, so and there are series of qualities over here and the behaviors which are noticed by Lord Krishna. So prowess and boldness, shaurya and tej. So a lot of vigor and the constancy with which he meets the challenges in life. So these are the two qualities of a hero who has a vigor of pursuit. So this kind of person definitely becomes a commanding personality. So leader has to be a commanding person, Kshatriya. And dhriti, fortitude. And this is like a power of your will, of the personality. That is dhriti. It's like a necessary drive you need, constancy of the purpose to meet. Have that kind of enthusiasm to break down all the obstacles until you gain the victory. That is a kshatriya. And dakshyam, dexterity, is like a quality of alertness, smartness, or a smart vigilance. That is dakshyam. So that means a kshatriya should come to the decision promptly. That's what's expected of a leader. And this kind of a person has a higher amount of perseverance, no matter how many hazards come. And that's what dakshata is, skillfulness under any endeavor. And apalayanam, not fleeting from battle. So he will not leave any work incomplete, any field. And then definitely generosity, dhanam. The governments or the kings or the leaders, they'll be popular only if they loosen their pockets. If they help others, only then. So that's the dhanam. So a kshatriya cannot afford to be miser, has to be generous. in order to have a greater influence or have a large number of friends also, lot of supporters also. Okay. The glory of a king or a leader is in his compassion for others who are in need of help. Then comes Ishwar Bhavaha, lordliness. So it's like a lot of self-confidence in your own abilities. Only then you can lead. A leader must have such a firm faith in himself that he'll be able to reinforce that idea into others also. So lordliness is one of the essential traits in a Kshatriya. Hallmark of a Kshatriya is a lordliness. That's why it's considered the king. In the old time, kings, they were the gods. And with their ego, some of the kings, they started calling themselves God also. Like a Ravan and the Kans, and created a lot of havoc. So these are the 8 qualities or 7 qualities enumerated over here. Okay. So Kshatriyas were those whose natures were predominantly Rajasic. Sure, there's a mixture of Satvikta, but predominantly I'm talking about. Okay. So this made them royal, heroic, daring, commanding, charitable. Okay. So quality for a leader, the administrative class. But they did realize that they were not as learned and pure as Brahmins. That's why they respected the Brahmins and took advice from them on spirituality or even the policy matters or in the ideology also. So now let's look at the next verse where he's giving the duties of a trader and a worker, Vaishya and the Shudra. Krishi, Gorakshe, Vanijyam, Vaishya Karam, Swabhavajam, Paricharyatmakam Karam, Shudrasya api Swabhavajam. Krishi, agriculture. Gorakshe, cattle rearing. Vanijya, commerce, trade. Vaishya Karam, the duties of the Vaishya. Swabhavajam, born of nature. Paricharyatmak, serving through work. So that means service of all, serving others. Karam is the action, Shudrasya of the Shudra, api also Swabhavajam, born of nature, like an intrinsic quality. So agriculture, cattle rearing and trade are the duties of the Vaishya, born of their own nature. And service is the duty of the Shudra, born of their own nature. So each mind, intellect, equipment is governed, ruled by its predominating quality or the gun. That's what he's telling us. So Vaishya, they are predominantly Rajasic, but some Tamsikta in there. And then Shudra, mainly Tamsik. So nobody is completely one or the other. But over here it's a predominance of the quality which he's talking about. Okay. And we are identical only at the soul level. In the personality level, even a person keeps on changing. Sitting in the temple, we can feel very sattvic. We are studying right now, completely sattvic, all of us. But something can happen the next minute and our nature can change. But a predominantly sattvic person will stay sattvic. But a predominantly Rajasic person can get agitated easily. Predominantly tamasic person, hey, I'll do it tomorrow. Laziness. So Vaishyas were those whose natures were predominantly Rajasic with a mixture of Tamogun. That's what he's telling us. Okay, so not only were they are, but right now we don't look at it that way somehow. People don't dissect their personalities this way. We don't go deeper into our personalities. But if we do, we'll find all of this very true even today. So they are inclined towards producing and possessing the Vaishyas, economic wealth through business and agriculture. Okay, and that's why he mentioned over here the Krishi Gorakshe Vanijya. So it's basically the business-minded person. That's why a person of commercial temperament, which is a Vaishya, if we make that kind of a person serve as a temple priest, that sacred place will become worse than a trading center. Okay, so it's the mind which dictates the actions. And the Shudras are those who possess tamasic natures predominantly. They are not inclined towards learning, administration, or even businesses. They don't want that kind of a headache. So the best way for their progress is to serve society according to their calling. Just serve. Whatever is being told, they just do that much. After 8 hours of work, they don't want to put any more hours. Or if they can do less than 8, that's even better. That's a Shudra. So with each one works according to his or her own vasanas. Vasanas means the deeper desires, the impressions. And a person fully devotes his attention to his prescribed duties and will develop within himself and attain in stages the ultimate perfection. So ultimate perfection can be attained for a Shudra also, for a Brahman also, for a Kshatriya also. If we keep the ultimate goal in our mind while working with our own personality. Because idea over here is to exhaust our vasanas. When the vasanas are reduced, what happens? We feel tranquility, peace within. And there's a more and more concentration, single-pointed contemplation. So with these faculties, a person can ultimately reach the state of perfection, the life in the self. How? He is mentioning it in the next verse. I'm going to start this next verse, and then after that, if you have any questions, we'll go over those. Okay? Because sometimes people get confused. They think, no, we have to become Brahman to attain the ultimate perfection. Understand where you are. Keep the goal in mind. Cultivate more and more peace within. You can attain, a Shudra can attain that highest place too. So swe swe karmani abhirata samsiddhim labhate nara swakaram nirtaha siddhim yatha vindati tat shrinu. Swe swe means in one's own. Karmani, the actions. Abhirata, devoted. Samsiddhim, perfection. Labhate, attains. Nara, people. Swakaram nirtaha, engaged in his own duty. Siddhim, perfection. Yatha means how. Vindati, finds. Tat means that. Shrinu means listen. So he says, devoted each to his own duty. Person attains perfection. How engaged in his own duty he attains perfection? Listen. So to answer to this question, he gives us in the next verse. But over here, he is making a statement very clear to us. Doing our own duties, not somebody else's duties. A Kshatriya doing a Kshatriya's duty. not a teacher's duty, not a priest's duty. So Swadharam is the prescribed duties based upon our gunas and station in life. Swadharam. So when we perform them, it ensures that we use the potential abilities of our body and mind in a very constructive and a beneficially manner. Because this equipment is given to us. This body also, the mind also, the intellect also. This is all equipment. We need to use the equipment properly. And that's how this will, our own karmas will lead us to purification and growth. And it is also auspicious for the society that way too. So devoted each to his own duty, a person attains perfection. How? He says, I'll tell you in the next verse how you can attain perfection. So each one is ordered by his own swabhav. Each one discover his fulfillment only in that self-ordered field of activity. See, when they say a Shudra, for example, a service class who is serving somebody else with an unbroken awareness of the Lord, when that becomes a constant habit of the mind, can dedicate himself very effectively, and evolution starts. So it's the mind which is taking us upward, or mind is the one which is taking us downward. It's not the actions themselves. It's the flow of our thoughts in the mind. So that's why Lord Krishna is telling us, working in the field ordered by our own vasanas. We can surrender, we can learn how to surrender our ego or our egocentric desires, which really want to enjoy the fruit. When we want to enjoy the fruit, we are moving away from that peace. He says, I'll show you how you can achieve a sense of fulfillment and a greater peace by exhaustion of the vasanas. Because of the vasanas, we are Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. That's all dictated by our vasanas actually. And we are supposed to get rid of those vasanas. So anybody, by doing what they're supposed to do, and he's going to teach us how to do it, we can attain that perfection. So this fourfold classification is universal. That's one thing we have to understand, both in its application in life and its implication in the cultural development of a person. Okay, it's not just for 5,000 years ago it was like that. Even today it is like that. The titles can change, the language can change, the basic philosophy does not change. In the Vedic time it was there, and 5,000 years ago it was like that. Even today it's like that in every society. So it's a very intelligent classification of human beings on the basis of our behavior, our psychological structure, our intellectual aptitude. That's how this classification has been done. It's not based upon our last name. A son of a Brahman can be a Shudra, or a son of a Shudra can be a Brahman, or anybody else. It's our own. Okay, so that's what Lord Krishna is telling us over here. But ultimately, I think this is a really great statement we should try to understand, and we'll see how next week when we start with our verse number 46. Because over here he says devoted, abhirata, that is a key word, devoted. See, sometimes we are not devoted to our actions. We don't even understand what our action is. Devoted, that means love for it. Love what you do. And that is a Karam Yoga. What do I tell you always? Those three elements of a Karam Yoga. Love what you do. Keep on developing the skill what you do. And selflessness in what you do. Okay, so if these three elements are there, only then you can say Abhirata. You are devoted. So devoted each to his own duty. It could be a mother. It could be a leader. It could be a servant. It could be a soldier. No matter who. Devoted each to his own duty. Person attains perfection. How engaged in his own duty he attains perfection? Listen, Shrenu. So whenever Lord Krishna says, listen, that means that something very important is coming up. It's not that Arjun was not listening and we are not listening, but he says, put all your attention into what I'm going to say because it is utmost important. Okay, so we're going to stop it here. If anybody has a question, please do ask. And but before we do that, let me do the Shanti part. And then today, I think many would like to sing a bhajan at the end. So, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om. Anybody has a question? Many, does anybody has a question or no? Jonathan? Unmute yourself. Yeah, anybody who has a question, please unmute yourself before you start speaking.
I was just curious. It seems like I can understand the 4 different classifications of people, but I was confused about how the Brahmins are more associated with sattvic behavior, and the Shudras are more associated with tamasic behavior, because that seems like it makes it more difficult for the Shudra class of people to attain like spiritual life. And so is it easier for people to live a pure life as a Brahmin than as a Shudra? Because that when you were speaking in the beginning, it seemed like each of the 4 types of people, there's no one that's better or worse, but at the same time, we're all taught to aspire toward sattvic behavior.
Yeah, see, sattvic behavior will definitely make it easier.
Yeah.
Because we are controlling our senses also. We are controlling bringing more and more peace in our mind also. Okay, and we are learning more. We are detaching from the outcome also. Okay, so sattvikta will definitely help us. But that doesn't mean that Shudra, if somebody has a not an aptitude of learning, that doesn't mean that cannot attain perfection.
Yeah, but I guess you said that they were more naturally tamasic, right?
They are naturally more tamasic means I'll do it tomorrow.
But isn't that the opposite of what we're striving for?
Yeah. So, but if they change that,
yeah.
see, if a person has that quality that I'll do it tomorrow, but still keeping that goal in mind, while doing what they are doing, keeping the ultimate goal in mind, they can attain. It might take longer for a tamasic person, but they can attain the goal too. It's not the bottom line is it's not the kind of a work which determines our ultimate goal. It is the control of our mind which determines the ultimate perfection.
Is it possible for the Shudra class of people to be sattvic at the same time, or?
But if they don't have a capacity to understand the scriptures, they can't. Okay, but sure, if they have uprightness, truthfulness, considering their work as a worship, sure they can. No matter what they are doing, if they think that I'm doing it for God, they can. Yes.
Okay.
See, this is something we're going to talk about next week. So it's not that, see, when a Shudra also brings more and more these qualities, they are more like a Sattvic qualities then. Right?
But do they change then to become more like Brahmin?
Nobody's labeling them.
Okay.
Nobody's labeling that you are a Shudra and you are a Brahman. It's our own nature. Yeah. So if our nature changes, sure we have changed. Okay, it's a nature, Swabhav. That's what we need to change. If our nature is greedy, that's not a Brahman nature. Okay, if our nature is lazy, that's not a Brahman's nature. Right. Okay, so it's a nature which is changing, not the title. Right. Okay. Thank you. So ultimately, more and more purity in us, when we cultivate, we are moving towards the highest. Yeah, ultimately, the goal for a Shudra also is the same. Goal for a Brahman is the same too. Right. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, keep thinking, keep asking. Next week, I mean, we're gonna just dig deeper into this same topic. Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, Hershey, I have a question.
Sure, Rita.
The question is, now if they are doing their work with full faith, no matter what kind of work, it could be Shudra work or it could be the Vaishya work, so they can reach to perfection. Does it mean they don't need to do meditation and samadhi and they don't have to go through that process to get the nirvana?
No.
They don't have to.
No. Because if their mind is calm
and pure,
if the flow of the mind is connected with the highest, what is that? That is a meditation.
Okay.
They are connected. See, ultimately, we need to connect ourselves with that highest.
Okay.
Whether we do it, because sometimes you could be studying all this and becoming more arrogant. And a person is not studying any of it, just doing the seva outside, but connected constantly with God. Okay. It's the connection with God, with the ultimate, that counts. Not the action itself. But only thing is, these kind of actions help us. They remind us again and again. Every day when we meditate, it's a reminder to us. Every time we worship, it's a reminder to us. Every time we pick up the book, we get more knowledge. Otherwise, these senses are so turbulent, they take us away from the goal. So that's why all these means, see, these are means. These means help us to attain that.
Thank you.
Got it?
Thank you.
So, yeah, ultimately, it's our connection. Do we stay connected or not? Sometimes we are not connected even outwardly. It might seem that we are connected. We are in a cave and meditating, but our mind is still fluctuating in the world. Or a person could be, I'll tell you a story about that butcher next week. He was connected. It comes in the scriptures. It comes in Mahabharata. Yudhishthir was told that story that, hey, this butcher is the one who was a great yogi. Outside, you might think that a butcher, it's not the action itself. It's the connection within which counts. Okay?
Thank you.
So these are all different paths, but the goal is connected and staying calm.
These are not the paths. We should not call them paths. These are the
Okay.
different swabhavs of human.
Okay.
Human personality has these swabhavs.
No, I meant paths as Swabhav, and then meditation is another path. Like
Oh
any
yeah, the
path it is.
meditation is a path.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah. And then, but the,
meditation like a Raj Yog,
Ji,
meditation more. Hatha
Ji,
Yoga, you take care of your body more. Karam
Ji,
Yoga, you do seva more. Yeah, those are
Ji,
the paths. But even nobody is walking on one path,
all the time.
all just only one path alone.
Only one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a combination.
The
Yeah.
combination of all this.
Yes.
Just like these
Yes.
personalities also, these gunas.
Yeah.
Didn't I say that nobody is 100% sattvic?
Very right.
Okay, little tamsikta, little rajsikta come. So that's why a Shudra could be in the beginning highly tamasic, but later on when he cultivates those positive qualities, there's a sattvikta coming in him. The minute we think about God, what happens? Purity comes in our mind. He's doing the work not for himself. He's serving. He becomes a karam yogi. I want to clean. I want to adopt a highway and just clean. Sure, that's a Shudra work. I'll go outside and clean. But if I'm doing it for God, purity will come, peacefulness will come. So that means that Brahmanic qualities are being added into that personality.
So the way I look, it is what comes first, chicken or the egg. Nature, one's nature is where is your starting point is before you get the title, Shudra, Kshatriya, or Brahmin, or whatever. So, and then as the nature develops to a sattvic level, then some of the people could go through the those classifications and reach to the like a Brahmin level.
Yes.
But there are very few, 1 in a million, who will actually be able to climb up, because a Shudra or the Kshatriya or the Vaishya, they are already inherent and deep into that personality, that by that very nature they will not have the enthusiasm required to be Kshatriya, or the Kshatriya may be content with whatever his nature is, not to become scholarly enough to climb up to be the Brahmin. But anybody who does by chance develop that desire to learn more or do better or try the next step can do, but very few.
Yes, yes. A point well taken. It will take harder for a extremely tamasic to become a sattvic.
Yeah.
Anybody who is predominantly sattvic, it's very easy to rise above the sattvikta.
It's like when you do the aptitude test in the schools, they right away they know how much more education you can give that person for him to reach Harvard. They know that he can only go this far, community college or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
right.
somebody else has the potential to go up.
Yeah, yeah, no, that is right. Because if you already have it, but at the same time, if somebody says, no, I am predominantly sattvic right now, I don't have to work hard, they can slip down also. In the nature, there's nothing stays constant. In order to go up, we got to make an effort. In order to stay afloat, we got to keep on swimming. Okay, so there is no nobody gets a certificate that no, you don't have to work hard, you will attain the godhood. No. Okay, but predominantly sattvic person, just like Urmil said, will be attaining that peace. And predominantly sattvic person, even now it's very peaceful, based upon the qualities which were enumerated by Lord Krishna. We can see that if we have those qualities, we are in connection with God.
Yeah, couldn't be a Kshatriya. I don't think I can go to the weaponry and do that. So I accept it. that I might be just a Vaishya or a lower level of Kshatriya. Whatever.
Yeah, but we should not lose heart. That's sure. Somebody is a businessman. That doesn't mean being a businessman cannot attain the goal of life. We all can. That is the point he's trying to make. No matter what swabhav you have, if you just remember the goal and do it properly, you can attain that
Yeah.
perfection.
Say, let's say my inherent nature was X. And if people keep saying, why didn't you try to be Y? Why? I don't know. I am X and I may have developed a lot of skills, but I never became Y or Z.
Yeah. So we got to, this is what he is trying to tell us. Stick to your nature, because the nature is based upon your past vasanas. If you don't wash away the vasanas, those vasanas stay there. By doing action according to your vasanas, you will wash away the vasanas. Idea is to wash away the vasanas. Okay, so we don't have to be Y or Z, whatever we are, know what your aptitude is, but remember the goal also. Working on the qualities which you have, based upon that, just keep on climbing up. Okay, anybody else? Okay, if there's no question, Manny, if you can just
Okay, all right. Good class. Okay, can I begin
and
then?
after the chanting also, if somebody has a question,
Yeah, okay.
come here. Okay, yes, okay.
डूबतों को बचा लेने वाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। डूबतों को बचा लेने वाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। लाख अपनों को मैंने पुकारा, सबके सब करते हैं किनारा, और कोई न देता दिखाई, और कोई न देता दिखाई। सिर्फ तेरा ही अब है सहारा, सिर्फ तेरा ही अब है सहारा। कौन तुझ बिन भंवर से निकाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। डूबतों को बचा लेने वाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। जिस समय तू बचाने पे आए, आग में भी बचा कर दिखाए। जिस समय तू बचाने पे आए, आग में भी बचा कर दिखाए। जिस पे तेरी दृष्टि होवे, कैसे उस पे कहीं आँच आए। जिस पे तेरी दया दृष्टि होवे, कैसे उस पे कहीं आँच आए। आंधियों में भी तू ही संभाले, आंधियों में भी तू ही संभाले। मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। डूबतों को बचा लेने वाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। बिन तेरे चैन मिलता नहीं है, फूल आशा का खिलता नहीं है। तेरी मर्जी के बिना इस जहां में एक पत्ता भी हिलता नहीं है। तेरे बस में अंधेरे उजाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। तेरे बस में अंधेरे उजाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। डूबतों को बचा लेने वाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले, मेरी नैया है तेरे हवाले। जाओ।
Thank you very
Very
much.
Mani ji, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba.
Good bhajan, Mani ji.
Thank you. For the benefit of my American friends who don't know Hindi, I'll just say what he's saying is if you have faith in God, God will take care of you in every situation. So you have to have faith.
Okay, Ari, did you have a question before? I thought, yes, please do ask.
You were using a word I didn't know. Vasinas?
Huh? Say that.
Before you were in the explanation you gave right before Manny started chanting, you were saying the Vasinas.
Oh, Vasana. Yeah, Vasana is, that's a Sanskrit word. Before the desires, before we are aware of our desires. So it's like a subtle desires are called Vasanas. They are so subtle, we are not aware of it until we see something. Something triggers. Okay, so subtle desires are called vasanas. V-A-S-A-N-A-S, vasanas. You will hear me say that word again and again in these classes. Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
And there's another term, sanskar. If you come to the classes, impressions, right?
Samskaras,
yes.
yeah.
So sanskars, vasanas, these are all very subtle desires. Okay, they are like a deep in our mind. See, it's almost like a person never smoked, but was in the company of a smoker. There must be some vasanas that he became a chain smoker. Something triggered then. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So subtle desires, that's how you can understand that right now. Okay. But they say technical term. Anybody else? Rita, you have a question? No? All right. Well, thank you for coming. So I'll see you, some of you tomorrow, and
Thank you.
some other future class. Every day we have classes, so just feel free to come. And
So एक क्वेश्चन है हर्ष जी, अब आपको 2 शाट लग गए, तब आप बच्चों के घर के अंदर जा सकते हो कि नहीं?
not right now. Not right now. Even afterwards, because there's so many different strains are coming. So like today I'm taking food. I'll just deliver the food.
That's it. Okay.
No, I will not go to their house. It's just, that's what we read in the articles. Okay, and sometimes what can happen is we may not get sick, but we could be carrier of it. We can make them sick.
Yeah.
So it's better to take precautions. Knowing everything what's happening around us, it's better to take precautions. So I'm not going to their house. No.
Okay. Okay.
And to me, I think this is a good life.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the life right now.
To me, I think this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, ji. Namaste. See
Okay.
you.
All right, Rita. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Guruji. Love you.
Namaste, Randa.
Namaste.
Hershey, I
Thank
want
you.
to ask you something.
Who's that? Rita? Yes, Rita.
Yeah. Namaste, Hershey. And this book that I was reading, it's called Caste. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's very popular these days. And this is talking about the caste system in India and here the racism here and they were saying the origin of the caste. And here they said, like Manu said, from Brahma. I'll just read from here that, the Brahmins, the highest caste, came from his mouth, and the Kshatriyas came from his arms, the Vaishya from his thighs and from his feet, and the Shudra, the lowest of the 4 varnas or division, those were the ones that were not included in anything. Is that written in any of the scripture?
Yes, Manu Samriti does write that.
Okay.
And you can see that based upon the gunas,
Okay.
The Brahmins, the mouth.
Yeah. But it
Because of
says it came from, but they misinterpreted it, saying that it came from, so they are the higher because it came from his head and his mouth.
No, nothing is higher or lower
Yeah.
in the body. We need the mouth also, the feet also.
Okay. So that
You're
is written, but it's just misinterpreted.
Yeah, exactly. No, nothing is higher or lower.
Okay.
And it's not that a Brahman person cannot become a Shudra. Based upon the qualities, we all have that freedom. Okay. And then nobody is
that's what
completely,
is written in Bhagavad Gita, but this is what I thought.
Yeah, nobody is completely one or the other. We should always remember that also. Okay. And then any given day we can change. So it's not a titles, it's just basically the Swabhav. And the more Sattvic Swabhav we have, the easier to cross over to the perfection. Okay. That's what we got to understand. But yeah, Smriti, just remember, Smritis are the secondary scriptures.
Okay.
Man-made scriptures. Okay. Nothing like that is written in the Vedas.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Bhagavad Gita doesn't say that this is how the castes are. But
yeah. The problem with the caste became when it became very rigid.
Yeah.
Okay, the rigidity. When we started identifying people from their last names. And then when people just didn't want to even associate with the certain castes, that became the problem. Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong in it. Classifications is everywhere. Okay, based upon our own behaviors, based upon our own aptitude. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.